Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. All things Middle Earth here with a video on the brand new walkthrough feature, which you may not be aware of. It just came out last night, and I think there's some actually really cool implications with this. It's kind of a quality of life thing that makes information about commanders and how to use them more publicly available for everyone. I think there's some really cool uses. I'm gonna talk about 5 things that with this feature, I think you can do these 5 things to become a more knowledgeable player and in turn do better in the game. So stay tuned. All that's coming up in just 1 second. Okay, this video is going to be fairly short and sweet because all these things are going to be pretty obvious, but I want to make sure that I'm covering all these bases because maybe you didn't realize that this is kind of a way you can look at this. But if you did not know it, when you go to your commander screen, there's this book right here. It's next to all the commanders. And if you click on this book, it opens up the walkthrough menu, which has all of these filters. You can filter by evil and good commanders. You can filter by specific seasons or all campaigns, specific respect levels or all of the respect levels, and specific levels. So you can see, you know, maybe early game, different commanders have different builds, all that good stuff. And trending, because you can like the different builds here, or new. So you can do all these different filters here. And again, maybe you look at this and it's really obvious to you what you could use this for, but maybe you're seeing, okay, cool, people can show off, that's it, I'm not going to look at it again. But there are, I think, some uses with this. The first one is going to be, which should be fairly obvious, troop compositions. Now, I had this question on stream. I asked this question on stream earlier about troop comps with my Grima that I'm running because I'm playing as Lothlorian, so I have good troops and better good troops first. So I was wondering, are there good troop compositions that can be run on Grima? If so, what does that look like? Is there a best case for that? And with this new feature, I can really quickly look at all of the Grimas that are on here. And bear in mind, this is going to change over time as more and more reports get added. But I can look at this and see that there is not a single Grima running with good alignment troops, at least right now. So I can look at that and say, okay, if I would go out on a limb and say, for the most part, I think Grima is going to be best run with evil troops. Now, they might add a filter down the road that allows you to sort non-roleplay and roleplay, which will maybe get you more options. You might not even see any Grimas being run in non-roleplay. I don't know. This is a very new feature, so we'll have to see how it evolves over time. But I was able to look through and see, okay, I didn't see any good troops here. There's no guardians, there's no whatever. But I can look and see, okay, I see halberdiers, I see dragoons a lot, I see reapers, I see crushers, I see different tier 4s. I mean, you can kind of see a lot of different stuff, but it just shows you, you can kind of look and see which troops are being used the most here, and look at where you're at and what you have available. And I can see, okay, well, I can get this one a little bit quicker, so I'm going to go that route. Or maybe I'll look and see, okay, well, I actually need this troop with another commander, so that's being used a lot here too. We're going to double up on that one. But it just gives you a good snapshot of what troop compositions are being used with commanders. In another instance, you could look at someone like Witch King, who usually runs alchemists at his R3, but at R5, it has to do with fell beasts. So if you go to his R5 here, it says when using fell beasts. So there are builds where people use fell beasts, even a small stack, just to get the benefits of his R5. And so let's say I take my Witch King to R5, which he is at, and I get fell beast. I want to test this out. I can look and see, okay, what R5 builds with fell beast can I see? And I can look and see that one and that one. I think there are a few more as I was scrolling at that one. So I can look and see, you know, which skills people are going to use. Again, these are pretty high respected Witch Kings, so you have to take that into consideration. But still, you can look and see what people are running. You can even look at higher respect Witch Kings and say, okay, well, this Witch King's at respect 12, and he's not running fell beast. So you can try and weigh if by looking at how many there are, if it's going to be something very, very worth it. Again, you got an R19 here in season 2, which is pretty nuts. That's a pretty cool build. So it just gives you some perspective on what people are using with commanders, which can help you make decisions for your own commanders. The next one I'll consider a sub point to the last one because we kind of covered it just in that last point talking about different troops and skills, but that is just skill composition. So you get a new commander, you want to know how to use them, you can look and see. Again, I get asked all the time. Someone comes on a stream, let's say we're looking at my Khaldun, for example, and they say, hey, I just full pulled Khaldun. What do I run them at? I got them at R0. Well, with this, you can go to the R0 to R2, which is going to show you the build here. And you can look and see. Now, again, at lower respect, there are less options. Bear in mind, right here, there's not a whole lot. Let's go ahead and sort by all campaigns, all levels. So you can see which Khalduns are here that are below respect 3. So you just need the first skill grouping and what people are doing. And as you can see, again, people are going into the Strength Tree Experienced Warrior, which, again, should be obvious the fewer skills there are. But you can even look at the R3 to R4 and see what people are doing here. At least in my experience, the Spear Dancer tree does not seem to be good. So for the most part, I'm going to continue going into the Easterling tree and Experienced Warrior, which is what I see a lot of these people doing. There are going to be the outliers, so bear that in mind. But again, it just gives you an idea when you get a commander, what you get them at, and you can see, at what respects you have a lot of people. And again, you can see a big jump here where, okay, you got points going around here, some in the R3, but not a whole lot. And then you go to the R5, and across the board, you should see the R5 being used every single time, which is the case. So you can look at this and say, okay, I think Khaldoon's R5 is pretty good because nobody is not using his R5, which maybe people do that just by default because it's the R5. They assume it's good, but that is not always the case. Some commanders should not run their R5s with Dwalin, for example, or you want to run his R1 and his R3. You don't really run the R5 for his damage dealing build. So that is the skill build side of it and how you can look up any commander and see what they're being run at and kind of get an idea of their optimal respect level with that. Again, if you go to another commander, like I was just talking about Dwalin, we could look at Dwalin at R5 plus, and we can see that not a lot of people are running his R5. Now, they do have extra points in his R5 going into that, and Longbeard is not a bad thing, but you can see the R1 and the R3 on the left side here, those are constantly maxed out. If it's early game, you might see more of the heal for PvE, but you can see 15 to 15 almost across the board on all these here. So you could look and see, okay, I think Dwalin could be used at his best at a lower respect, at respect 3, just to give you an idea there. But that is the skills portion of the walkthrough guide. The next one is, I think, kind of unique, maybe not something you thought of right off the bat, but that is the R10 items. So if you're looking at commanders and trying to decide which R10 item to get, you can look here, which again seems obvious, but you can click on the gear and just see which people have gotten the R10 items. So again, for Dwalin, for example, if we keep looking at him, you can see that this person has a Hammer of Moria with lethal weapon. And then you go down to the next one and we see his R10 item here. And then the next one is another R10 item. The next one is going to be another Hammer of Moria with lethal weapon. So you can get an idea. Again, you should go through and do a little bit more looking than the first 4. But you can see that, okay, for the most part, it seems like people are running lethal weapon on the Hammer of Moria. That's a really good option. There are some R10, so it's not something people aren't doing. Again, here's a fully refined R10, so that's pretty nice. And then you can see that even there's a purple option with the Battle Axe with Flay that people use for Dwalin as well. So not only can you get a good gear idea, but you can look at which R10s are being used, and then likewise you could go to, again, this will change as there are more commanders available, but if you look at all campaigns, Merry and Pippin, all respect levels, again, there's none that are listed to the above 10 anyway, but that might change over time. But you might look and see, okay, there are 10 Merry and Pippins above respect 10, and nobody has their R10, so maybe it's not that good, maybe I shouldn't get it, or maybe all 10 of them have it, so you might think, okay, the people that have this here seem to want to do this. Maybe they're crazy like I am. Shout out to my Merry and Pippin there. But again, it can give you an idea of which R10 items are being given more attention than others to help you make a little bit better of a decision. Again, I wouldn't just look and see one thing and go, yep, I saw it, I'm doing it. But it gives you a starting place to look and see between the R10 items, which ones you could choose over another one. Continuing in the gear conversation, if you've got a new commander or you're going to start using a commander for the first time, you might want to look at which gear, not looking at R10, but just what gear in general people are using. So we'll not look at Merry Pippin anymore because it's a sore subject. But I could look at Gandalf, for example, and see what people are running on Gandalf, so you can see the different stuff being used. So you're going to see some variation, but you can click through and see which things you keep seeing. See a lot of bone masks with Hysteria or Manipulate, maybe a Trapper's Hood, but you can just keep going through and seeing which ones you've got. And you might go, well, I don't have the Trapper's Hood, but I have the Bone Mask, and I see that a lot, so that's going to be a great option for Gandalf. Again, we're looking at Gandalf here, so we can look and see. I'm not seeing Gandalf's R10. I haven't seen that at all yet. I know that people do have it, but Gandalf the Grey's R10 is not one that's as in favor. There are just better R10 items for him than his unique item. Now we're below respect, but here's respect 11. Still not seeing it. So not only can you see here that, okay, maybe Gandalf wouldn't be the best one to chase after the R10. There might be a better tier 2 commander that could get that. But then you can see what people are using, which is going to be a lot of times a worn out smoking pipe with sustain's going to get the job done just fine. So again, it seems obvious, but you can look at all the different gear here and the effects that you see people using the most, because you might see, well, yeah, I heard you need a carver, but what do I need on it? And you can see everyone's going to be running smite on their carvers for the most part. So that is the gear options you get with the walkthrough feature. And last but not least, the last thing I want to talk about is sort of the commander versus commander conversation, not versus in battle, but if you're trying to choose from one commander to the other, which one to use, because this is one of the most common questions I get is, do I use Gandalf the White or Gandalf the Grey? Do I use, again, and that's a very hard question because a lot of times it's situational, depends on your server, depends on your faction, depends on what gear you have, all that stuff. But you can look through with this and use whatever filters you want to use and see, okay, I'm considering using either Aragorn, King of Men, or I'm considering using Gandalf the White. So I can look through Aragorn, King of Men. You can count these. You can see which ones have high respect. Again, here's a respect 24. Holy moly, that's kind of crazy. But you can look through and see how many Aragorns you see. There's a lot of Aragorns being used. So there's a little bit to go through here. But then you can also go through and look at Gandalf the White in this example and see, it's like, man, I see a lot more people with R25, R24 Gandalf the Whites. Maybe he's got some better long-term investment. I think a cool feature to be added here would be if they could add a count for how many. If I'm looking at every single, in this example, Gandalf the White, it'd be nice if it would show what how many of them there are here. So I can see, oh, there's 108 Gandalf the Whites posted, and there's 37 Aragorn. Whatever there is. There might be more of Aragorn King of Men. I would personally choose Gandalf the White if you're wondering. But you could look and see, and it'd be cool to have a filter that shows you how many are being used with these different filters selected, because then you might be able to get an idea, okay, of just saying, okay, the majority of people are using Gandalf the White. Now, obviously, still look at your specific situation, look at your faction, look at the group you're playing with, look at the gear you have, see how that all fits together, but it can at least give you a starting point to go off of when choosing between one commander to use over another. But again, that was supposed to be a little bit shorter and sweeter than it was, but I think there are just some really cool implications with this walkthrough feature. I'm very excited when things come out that surprise me that actually are good quality of life. This is just good. You have a lot of information in the game that can now be viewed by everyone. So that's just very, very good. There are a lot of good stuff. You can learn a lot about the game. So I think it's great. So I'm pumped about it. Let me know what you think about this feature down in the comments below. But that's going to do it for me in this video. And as always, I'll see you in a future one.